What the fastest way you've seen someone ruin their life?
I had a friend in college who had a tendency to act before thinking, but was generally fun and well-meaning. After I had graduated, my friend apparently got coerced by a woman he was trying to sleep with to try heroin just once. As I heard it, he refused initially, then caved because he felt pressured. My friend overdosed and died. Just like that, one bad decision ended his life. Rip Mike.
I had an acquaintance who was pretty successful, early 30s, good job, homeowner, etc. His next-door neighbors had custody of their niece, a 16-year-old cheerleader who was home alone all the time. They struck up a friendship. Need I say more? Actually, yes. The cops stop him randomly with her in the passenger seat. They ID her since she looks young. Call her guardians, who deny that he has permission to take her anywhere. Here's the thing, they had crossed a county line. Boom, kidnapping charge. They break him in interrogation and he admits to sex. Boom, statutory rape charges. They convince him to unlock his phone, and find her nudes in his inbox. Boom, child pornography charges. Boom goes the cell door.
She took MLM seriously, invested into it. Lost friends, everyone and money. Simple.
And this is why you never accept a meeting from anyone to discuss a vague business opportunity.
Business opportunity is a massive red flag.
Less than 24 hours. My ex-neighbor's ex-girlfriend went on a racist road rage rant that got filmed. It went viral on Twitter. I remember reading the news article and thinking about her for some reason. She wasn't named. It wasn't until months later that I found out it was her. She was fired from her $300,000 a year job next day and immediately started getting death threats. She had to move in with her boyfriend. She tried getting a job but people would look her up and be like WTF. She spent $10,000 on a reputation defender. Changed her name. Was shunned by many family and friends. Her boyfriend, who she wanted to marry, broke up with her because he couldn't stand the months of depression. She ended up leaving the state.
I was a licensed firearms owner in Canada, and I sold a handful of handguns to my crack dealer when I was still smoking a few years back, and it caught up to me 3 years after I got sober. I'm going to court for sentencing in a couple of months, with the prosecutor seeking 6 to 8 years. And although it may not seem like that much in the grand scheme of things, but since I quit smoking crack, I got my driver's license, started my own construction business, and I'm in a 4-year relationship with an amazing woman who was the reason for my getting sober. All of that is going to be gone, and my grandpa, who is the only family who raised me I have left, will most likely be gone because of him being 84. I'm not sure where you would count the life being ruined. The second I made the decision to sell the firearms, the second the RCMP and local police pulled me over with 20 cars in morning rush hour, my name being put in the newspaper with my crime, or when I get sentenced in a few months. I've decided it was the second I made the decision.
Went to school with a kid who threw a rock off an overpass and killed a dude. Whole life down the drain at that point. Made international news. Edit. Flint, Michigan.
Imagine being the dude that got hit. Just living your life driving home from work one sec and literally dead the next. This life is something else. My friend is a teacher. She teaches the kids whose dad was killed and said she just watched the poor kid deteriorate after the dad died. Super sad and really an EFF'd up situation.
I'm my own perfect example for this. Started abusing meth and hanging with all the wrong people. Within 3 months I wrecked my car. Lost my home. My relationship went up in flames and I caught some misdemeanors and felonies when I had only ever had speeding tickets before then. Now I'm on probation for the next several years or until I can pay off the thousands I owe the court. Stuck living with my parents at 34. Single, jobless, and struggling massively with anxiety and depression. Yay bad choices. Yay consequences. My boyfriend used meth for many years. He's been clean for 5. You aren't meth. You aren't the person that did those things. At least, you won't be while you stay clean. Keep going. You can do it.
Thank you so much. New guy at a factory celebrated finally finding a job by doing a shot at the bar next door during lunch. Got fired after 4 hours of work for it? Tisk tisk, should have been after work shots. I knew this guy in my 20s. He was kind of new to our little group. He brought this girl around. She was trying to fuck everybody. I didn't know him that well, but I tried to tell him about her. He didn't believe me and took her side. We stopped talking. When she was trying to fuck me one night, she told me he had a premature ejaculation problem and he was really lame in bed. She specified she really needed some good dick because he seriously only lasts like a minute. I wasn't interested in her and politely declined. Anyway, I didn't actually see it, but a few months later, I heard he got her pregnant. The fastest I know of someone ruining their life was about a minute. Edit, wow. Didn't expect this to blow up like it did. To answer some of your questions. That happened. It was about 10 years ago. He cut our whole group off so nobody knows any details. I suspect it's 50-50ths whether it was his or not, but I'll probably never know. It helps to be insane. I say that as someone who is certifiably bonkers. I worked with an engineer at a manufacturing facility at one point in my career. We'll call him Bob Dobbs. We had defense-related contracts with major players like Boeing. It was not this man's job to design anything, but to do manufacturing shit. At some point, within a year of my arriving, he began answering the phone with customers as Bob Dobbs, engineering manager, and insisting that all communication go through him. He got away with this for nearly 3 months until someone called the actual engineering manager asking for Bob Dobbs, the engineering manager. Due in no small part to the what the fuckery involved, a review of Bob Dobbs' work began. He had been redesigning/optimizing customer designs before they went to production. There was almost $1 million of scrap sitting on the shop floor. He was terminated, and began a career delivering pizza.
Friend had dived off a fraternity balcony while drunk into a parking lot. He now has one half a brain and is wheelchair bound. Similar thing happened to a guy from my school. Dived off a pier at his bucks party. Hit his head and paralyzed. They didn't get married in the end. I heard he broke it off with her because he didn't want to be a burden. Really sad.
My stupid ex-girlfriend, in an effort to pay back a loan shark, maced the opening manager of a Blockbuster and stole the bank deposit bags. Then, she went and picked up her niece and nephews, all under age 8, and causally drove around with them. She got felony stopped on a major roadway. Her photo was on the top stories at 10 lead into that evening's NAWA. This happened during the NBA Finals that year, I think it was during Game 6 or 7, so huge viewing audience. Oh, she was easily recognized and apprehended because her best friend was store manager of that Blockbuster and she was there all the time. And she had dropped off an application the day before. She spent the next 3 years in a women's prison.
Knew a guy in when I was younger. He was a stud tight end in high school and college but had a drinking problem. He had pro stats, size, speed, etc. Got a tryout in the NFL. Flew to town, went out, got fucked up and never woke up in time for the tryout. Showed up half a day late and they wouldn't let him in. Flew home and now he does mortgages working like the rest of us.
Did he go to Oregon? So in conclusion. 1. Don't say racist stuff. 2. Don't ever try heroin. 3. Don't drive drunk. 4. Don't throw rocks off a bridge. 5. Don't use a crossbow. And you should be good. 6. Don't cheat on your so/have an affair. I went to a rich high school. After graduating, 2 kids went to be camp counselors. One night they got drunk and drove back to the camp. They hit a tree, the passenger died. The kid driving was from a family worth 8 figures, smart, good enough looking, popular. On his way to a top-tier university. 20 years in prison. The passenger's family begged for no prison time, but the judge said tough shit.
Friend. Hey dude, I've been thinking about getting into Warhammer 40k.
Another innocent soul lost.
And another comrade gained. A guy the first knew that was in all the advanced classes and shit decided against college and went for MLM. Instead, his life isn't ruined, per se, but IDK anyone that has contact with him, and from what I can tell he has new jobs all the time. It's more like a wasted potential story. I guess. I lost contact with him after he tried to get me to join an MLM. I said, IDK. This sounds like a pyramid scheme. And the guy ahead of him got on the line and yelled at me for like 2 minutes straight. He texted an apology after and we haven't talked since. What's MLM? If you don't mind. Multi-level marketing. You end up having to recruit people and sell them products you bought. You end up losing money as you buy the products but have no one to sell to.
That woman who called the cops on the bird-watching gentleman in Central Park. That video lasted a minute or so. I'm pretty sure she will never get as good a job as she had ever again.
Nobody will hire her. Her video is still all over the internet.
A female person I went to high school with had sex with an underage student at her first teaching job. Ended their career before it started. The weirdest part was seeing news articles where they questioned whether or not she was hot. When someone isn't old enough to consent, it is rape.
Dropped out of a very good college with a full scholarship that his family could never have afforded otherwise. After 3 years due to World of Warcraft addiction. No, this wasn't me. I managed my addiction responsibly. Edit. We are thinking of different guys. The fact that dozens of replies are, hey, I know this guy, is disconcerting but not unexpected. Edit. I played WoW from release through Cataclysm but never really had a problem walking away from it to focus on life. Which is probably the experience of most of the player base. After I quit, I started having intrusive thoughts about relapsing. Even 8 years later, but have never felt that I'd give in to that. When I lived in Vegas, I saw all these people come in and bet it all on black. Then lose. Then the stare of disbelief as they realize their mortgage is gone and they have to explain that to whomever they had left at home. I was there when my older brother tried heroin for the first time. Fast forward 15 years and he is constantly going to the hospital for abscesses that appear on his arms and legs and is almost completely cut off from the rest of the family because he's robbed our parents more than once. Every few years he swears he is going to kick the habit. The first few times we collectively ponied up cash to send him to rehab and tried to be as supportive as we could. After the 10th relapse or so we are too exhausted to even pretend to be hopeful about his newest attempt to get clean. Edit. Thanks for all of the positive feedback.
Early 90s, my friend was a sweet theater nerd who went to the same college as me. She started hanging out with a sketchy crowd and ignoring her old friends, especially when we tried to tell her she was losing herself. She ended up moving to Seattle to hang with her new friends. Growing up, she was the most sober person in our group. She never even drank alcohol, much less did any drugs, but 6 months later, she was dead of a heroin overdose.
In the Air Force, this new guy joins and goes out to a bar, then decides to drive home. Gets a DUI. Loses all his rank. Has to pay a ton in fines, but leadership fought for him and he was allowed to stay in the Air Force. 2 months later, as he's paying tons of lawyer and legal fees, he does something really stupid. Drives home from the same bar drunk and gets arrested. Loses his license and gets kicked out of the military. So loses all his income while he's thousands of dollars in debt. That's not even the worst part. A few months later, he celebrates being a civilian again by, you guessed it, going to the same bar. Then driving home drunk, arrested and put in jail for a while. I can't imagine he has many future career opportunities with a less than honorable discharge and an arrest record. Edit. I should have added that the third DUI included charges for driving without a license since he had it suspended after the second.